So that's class knowledge. Like, if people aren't hitting the like button for those nuggets, I don't know what they're looking for. Alright all, and welcome back to another Let's Talk Racing video, and today we'll be looking ahead to the main championship races at the Cheltenham Festival. We covered the novice hurdles last week. We're now moving on to the big ones: the Champion Hurdle, the Champion Chase, the Stayers Hurdle, the Ryanair and the Gold Cup. And obviously I've got Josh the other side, who today is on the decks apparently. So he's got the big headphones in, the cable coming out. I just want to hear the tunes.
I've lost my AirPods, and so I feel like, you know, when you were at school and you used to not bring in your PE kit and you had to rummage around the lost property and dig something out. Well, I've got these, so unfortunately you got DJ Josh today. Just bear with me, it'll be 1 week. If I've still got these as the only option in a week's time, I will be going out and buying some new AirPods. It's the first of a couple of videos this week. Later on in the week we will be doing the handicaps videos, because we're getting the handicap entries on Thursday, I believe. So we'll get a video out on Friday. So I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, at the end of this video, we will also be answering a few questions, and there's a few updates as well that I think are important for some big Cheltenham horses and maybe horses of the future, so do stick around. Before we do start, the hats are on the way. They are being sent out, and the link to the private preview evening that we're doing for the Cheltenham Festival will be going via email. So don't worry, it won't be in the packaging, but it'll be in your emails, the emails that you signed up for the hats with. And then also, if you do enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do comment down below your thoughts on the races that we cover as well. The support over the last few weeks has been insane. I think the last video got 13,000 views in 3 or 4 days, which is absolutely nuts. So hopefully we can keep that going and build towards the Cheltenham Festival. I'm so excited. But let's talk about the Champion Hurdle, the first championship race of the festival on the Tuesday, my favourite day personally, and we'll be in the Feathered Fish after for a big night out on the Tuesday. I won't be feeling so great on the Wednesday morning, and hopefully a few winners can pay for that night. We've got Honeysuckle that's 4 to 6, and it's very difficult when you look down the market to think what's going to oppose her, Andrew. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's very fair to say. Look, she's been fantastic the last couple of seasons. She was very good in the Hatton's Great. I don't think she was at her best in the Irish Champion Hurdle, still won very easily. She obviously holds an awful lot of these on form. Sharjah's not even in the race anymore. He'd have been probably the horse you'd have thought that would chase her home. I suppose the more and more I go into it, though, the more and more I'm hoping, and I don't know whether it is hope, but I really hope that they can get appreciated there and firing the way he did in the Supreme. I thought it was very interesting that they've bypassed today's race, the Red Mills Hurdle, to just make sure that he goes there with an awful lot of freshness in him, a bit of pep in his step. And I just would be interested, because you looked at last season's novice hurdlers, you would have thought appreciated Fernie Hollow, Bob Olinger, the only 3 horses that could potentially put it up to Honeysuckle. I'm not saying he's going to go and beat her, make no bones about that, but I really hope he runs to form and we can actually see what Honeysuckle's made of, because it's almost getting a little bit repetitive, her beating the likes of Zana here.
I know exactly what you mean, but with regards to appreciate it, I look at him and I go, it's such a big ask to go there without a run, without race fitness. You can do as many gallop mornings. When it actually comes down to it, a race is very different, and they will be pushed to their limits in a race, and you get that extra bit of fitness, and then combine that with the fact that he's got to give her £7. I think it's such an uphill battle, and I'd imagine Honeysuckle will make it back-to-back champion hurdles. Looking down the list, Adagio, Epatante, Zanahiyr, Tiupu, Tommy's Oscar. Out of all of those, if you're going to pin your hopes to one that could maybe finish 3rd or 2nd, who's got the most chance?
Yeah, I don't see any of those really as being horses that could go and beat Honeysuckle, really, in terms of horses that more than likely could maybe fill the frame. I do think Zanahiyr a very rock-solid horse. His form this year has been good. I think Cheltenham will suit him. Thought Adagio's run in the Kingwell today was a decent run, actually, in Goshen's, you know, in his real favoured conditions. And I think Goshen, like, I know people throw a lot of dirt on him, and sometimes rightly so when he goes left-handed, but 2 miles heavy ground going right-handed around a track like Wincanton, he's a hard horse to beat, and Adagio, with no race fitness on his side, gave him a good fright, and he might come forward for that. But No, it's probably a pretty pathetic effort that I'm going probably first, second and third in the market, but I do think Zanahiyr is probably the most likely of the rest of them. Tiupo, not a horse for me. I know he was impressive today, but I still think he's got a lot of growing to do, and I think he wants further in time as well.
From one race with a very short price favourite to one that looks very, very open, Shishkin 8 to 11. It's hard work, isn't it? It is hard work at this year's festival. But you look at the main three in the Champion Chase. You've got Shishkin, Energumene reopposing after the Clarence House Chase, and Chacun Pour Soi, who was devastating at the Dublin Racing Festival, but has failed to fire on his two starts over here. And I look at Nube Negra. I don't think Nube Negra can beat Shishkin. I don't think he's got the talent. I don't think he's as good. The weights and the ratings and turn that around. He's got an awful lot to find. Chacun Pour Soi couldn't touch him with a barge pole. Like you said, if this was 2 miles around Leopardstown, he'd be banged there, but it's not. I can see more improvement coming from Shishkin than I can Energumene, because it's going to be left-handed, dry ground, and Cheltenham experience, and I think that'll be key. It's not, again, a valuable case or something that you didn't know. I just think Shishkin will win the Champion Chase. Yeah,
it's hard to look by him, and there's a part of me that kind of wants him to go and do it. Look, the race at Ascot was superb. You'd love that to happen again, and the two of them are trading blows, and maybe add in Shakan as well, and you've got 3 horses within a couple of lengths at the last, but I just think Shishkin, he still looked almost a little bit unfurnished at Ascot and still managed to get the job done. As for Energumene, looked so straightforward, kind of a proper point and shoot merchant, and jumped so well. I know people are a little bit, iffy about the fact he hasn't run at Cheltenham. Look, he's such a good jumper. I can't imagine he won't go well at Cheltenham. And the fact that he ran so well at Ascot would allay any fears of him travelling. Which, as you say, Chacun Pour Soi, not only has he disappointed at Cheltenham, but at Sandown. He would be carrying my lucky fiver or something like that, Chacun Pour Soi, because he'd be the horse of all 3 of them that I would die to see win a Champion Chase. But I don't think it's going to happen. And I think out of the top 2, you have to go with Shishkin, really, based off what he's achieved at Ascot, what he's achieved winning the Supreme, where nothing went his way, winning the Arkle last year against some half-okay horses. Eldorado Allen's turned into a very good horse going up in trip, so it's a little bit like the Duvan Sizing John situation there. But no, you can't really go against Shishkin, I don't believe.
Moving on then to the Ryanair Chase, and the favourite is Allaho at 11 to 10. At this stage, at the prices, I would take him on. I think there's better bets in the race than backing Allaho at 11 to 10 is what I'm trying to say. My main one would be Janadil at 14 to 1. He was beaten 2 lengths by Allaho in the John Durkan over 2.5 miles. I personally believe 2.5 is his trip. I don't think he's a Gold Cup horse. And if there was going to be a horse that was to pick up the pieces, I think I'd back Janadil to do that at 14 to 1 each way. I can't really see him out the 3. Other than Allaho, there are plenty of horses that are on the same level. You look at Fakir Udari, who I would probably say is going to skip Cheltenham and go to Aintree after his win in the Ascot Chase today. Envoy Allen, Mellon, Tornado Flyer, Asterion Philonge, Conflated, Eldorado Allen. Horses that this season anyway, obviously Envoy Allen was a very, very good novice, haven't shown anything that could put it up to an Allaho. One that's interesting is Sham Blue. Any chance he can beat Allaho?
I don't really see it, personally speaking. I must say, and I do have fears, and I think around so many tracks, I think Harry Skelton is actually an excellent rider. But like the ride he gave Sham Blue in the Marsh, now the Turners last year, was just suicidal. Like he just went, hell for leather, kept pumping away, and you're kind of going, well, if you try to do that against Allaho, there's only one spot you're going to end up, and it's going to be at the back of the telly. And we saw that with Min last year. My worry just when you're trying to take on Allaho or try to find something into the race is like you do name that form of Janadil behind Allaho in the John Durkan, but that was kind of him at almost 75% of his best. Really, he was very workmanlike. He didn't jump very well. Like if he runs to even 90% of what he ran to last year in the Ryanair, I think he wins this. I just don't see, as you say, I don't see the horses with the talent in behind. Conflated maybe is a springer if he went here. I think they'll go Gold Cup with him. Furlonge has ability to run well, but can you trust him? Probably not. So, as you say, like you're not going to get rich backing horses at 11 to 10, 3.5 weeks out from the festival. But I couldn't see anything beating them, really, I must say. And I think horses that ran today in the Ascot Chase, I don't think they'll be rocking up in the Ryanair.
Strong start to the video. 3 favourites, boom, boom, boom. That's just how we like to do things around here. Hopefully that's going to change now when we talk about the Stayers hurdle. This looks like a minefield. He's shaking his head because he knows he's put up Flooring Porter. Talk to me.
Yeah, now to be fair, I have put up Flooring Porter on the videos when he wasn't a favourite at, I think I got 6-1 about him, and he's now 7-2. Look, he's enhanced his claims over the last month for sitting in his box. I think Gavin Cromwell, very interestingly, going through a fairly barren spell at the moment. This happened exactly the same last year. He suddenly got his horses to click around March. I think that'll be the same. I think Flooring Porter will run well. I think Vanillier will run well. He might have a few for the handicaps, the likes of a Gabinaco. So I just think he's got a cracking chance. A lot of the others at the top of the market, you're looking at them, you know, Champ slightly blotted his copybook against Paisley Park. Can't have Paisley Park at all, personally speaking. I know some people will try and fashion up a case. I just don't see it myself. Classical Dream, out of the nutters, you know, in terms of being, you know, like in terms of your Champs, Paisley Park's Classical Dreams, he'd be the one I'd be more inclined to give a chance to than the other two. I know you're probably going to disagree. Obviously you'll be given a chance to Champ and maybe Paisley Park. He's a horse of so much ability, though, if he got it right. Time Hill, I like Time Hill. He was my horse for this race last year. Just always think at this level there's going to be something that's going to beat him. And I think if Danny Mullins can get the fractions right on Flooring Porter, I think it's going to be a very hard horse to pass.
Like you say, I am going to stick with Champ. I think it's one of those races where any of those top 5, you even look at horses like Royal Kahala, if she was to run here, or Sporting John, if they were to put their best foot forward, they go very, very close in a race like this, a very open race. I personally think that if they all put their very best foot forward, Champ has the most ability of them all. He just has to do it. He is fairly in and out. Look, every time he's finished a race, he's either been in the first 2, which is a pretty decent stat, and I can't see any reason why he'd fall around Cheltenham. I think he'll go very close. If they go hard up front, it'll only suit him. I think he'll stay. And it wasn't the best performance in the world when finishing second behind Paisley Park, but that was a freakish race. And Paisley Park, I've never seen anything like it. I'm willing to stick with Champ. He's 5-1, put him up at 20s on the Anti-Post series, and I'm hoping that he can go close at that price. Cheltenham Gold Cup time then. And this is an interesting one, because I don't know where you stand with this. I know you like Album Photo. He's one of your favourites. And there was reports today, actually, that he's going well at home and Willie Mullins is happy with him. But this is an interesting Gold Cup this year. There's plenty of horses that got to prove something, and Album Photo is one of those. Yeah, very much so. Look, he's got to improve on last year, and is he going to? It's hard to know. I think he's got very good possibilities of filling the frame, and you're getting 10-1 about him. He's just a likeable type of horse. You know he's gone and done it. I think he's kind of slipping under the radar now. Is always the case in the Gold Cup, and I understand it with novices stepping up and stuff, but it's very, very easy to forget kind of yesterday's horse almost and just move on to the new shiny thing in front of you, and that seems to be a couple of these horses, the Galvins, the Protectorats of the world. And personally speaking, I still think the best form overall in this race is last year's Gold Cup. So, if I'm being honest, I was very impressed by Manella Indo at Leopardstown. I was very impressed with him in this race last year, obviously. I would love, and nothing against Robbie Parr, because I do actually quite like Robbie Parr, but if you're asking me candidly, I would be so excited if Jack Kennedy's up on this horse. I don't know what the story is. Conflated may be in the race, Galvin may be in the race, Delta Work certainly won't be in the race, or shouldn't be in the race, that's for sure. But he would give me an awful lot more confidence on Manella Indo, just the way he got a tune out of him last year. A Plutar has his chance. He's another favourite though, and probably at the price is willing to take on. Galvin hasn't been the horse for me this year. He's an improving horse. Would it particularly surprise me if he won a Gold Cup? No, it wouldn't. I don't think it would be a vintage race if he did win it. And the one that I'm going to throw to you, obviously, because plenty of English and British people are very patriotic, and I want you to try to explain to me the myth around Protectorat, because I don't give him any chance in this race whatsoever, and yet I've seen people, and very well respected tipsters and, you know, high up in the scale, put this horse up. I don't see the angle there at all. I think it's an insult to Album Photo that he is 10-1 and Protector at his best price 8-1. I don't see it at all. I'm one of those people at the Cheltenham Festival that likes trainers in the past winning a race. For instance, Dan Skelton's never won a Cheltenham Gold Cup, and I'm not saying that he never will, because of course he will. And it could be this year, it could be Protectorat, but I don't think it will be. But you look at Willie Mullins, you look at Gordon Elliott, you look at the likes of Paul Nicholls down the line as well, Nicky Henderson. These are trainers that have won Gold Cups and know exactly the credentials a horse has to have to win it. I fear at the start of the season, I don't think there's any way that Dan Skelton would have thought he'd have had an 8-1 shot in a Gold Cup with Protectorat, especially looking at last year's crop and the novices coming through. It's obviously played slightly different with Monkfish being injured and some of the horses disappointing, like Envoy Allen not stepping up to the plate. The one bit of form that he's got, really, because I don't think the Aintree Novice Chase win last year is any form to win a Gold Cup, or the second in the Paddy Power Plate. The one bit of form is the Many Clouds race at Aintree, and it was a bog that day. He was relentless to the line, and I can understand why people would side with him because of that. Like, it was 3 mile 1, it was in heavy ground, he looked like he galloped through the line. It's the first time we've seen him up in trip, what not. He wouldn't be carrying my money. He wouldn't be carrying my money over Album Photo. He wouldn't be carrying my money over Applutard, Galvin, Chantry House. I'd probably back Chantry House to beat him. I am surprised that he is 8-1, and I am surprised with the support he's getting. But he doesn't have no chance. I just give him less of a chance than the market suggests. So that being said, the one that I do like, and I have liked all year, and you've been quick to maybe play down his chances, and I've been quick to say, no, I do give this horse a chance, and that's Galvin. He's now 9-2. It's short enough. Throughout the whole year, the one thing that's been consistent in my argument is that Cheltenham will suit him better than any of these 3 mile races around Leopardstown. And I stick by that. He's won around Cheltenham. He won last year's National Hunt Chase. You know that he'll relish that hill, and he's a thorough stayer. Slight reservation is he's got to jump so well to keep tabs with the likes of Manella and Doe, with the likes of Applutard, because they are quicker horses than him, there's no doubt about it. But if he's going around that bend within 5-10 lengths, you know that he will be staying on. He did show me speed that I didn't think he had. And 9-2, although it is skinny, I think I would be siding with him at that price. And it's a tricky one. Has he changed your mind at all? You alluded to it earlier, but have you been slightly more impressed with him than you were at the start of the season?
Oh, very much so. I was a little bit disappointed with him at Down Royal. I thought he should have gone by Frodon, really, and kind of didn't end up doing so. But the fact that he kind of went by Applutard, now Applutard was pulling up in front in the Savills Chase, what was still a very good effort. A little bit what you were saying in terms of Protector at an Album Photo, I think it's a little bit harsh on a last year's winner that he's a bigger price than Galvin. I don't think that should be the case. I think Manella Indo should be second in the market, Galvin third. If you're offering me Galvin at 7-8-1 at the moment, I know that's obviously fantasy land, you know, I think he'd be a very good each way bet. I think there's every chance he could run into the frame, and I must say, you're getting Davy Russell on his back, which is almost bonus points in a race like this, and he showed that at Christmas time. I just have my fears whether he's good enough, you know, just class wise, you know. That's I know people have won the National Hunt Chase and gone back to the Gold Cup. I do understand that, but it just would be a hallmark to me that the race hasn't been certainly a vintage Gold Cup if Galvin's winning it, because I think Gordon Elliott has had better horses in his yard not win a Gold Cup than Galvin, and Galvin has got, as you say, a good chance in this race. So no, of course he does have a chance. I'd give him more of a chance than some of the others in the market. Saw some people today now making the case as well. Again, patriotic nature potentially, but making the case for Royal Pagaille. I just don't see it. I think it becomes, at this stage, and I understand Cheltenham Festival anti-post betting is hard because the value's going out of races, but there is no point just putting up 25-1 horses or just saying 25-1 horse for the sake of saying them. Now, this horse was nowhere in the race last year, couldn't get Pi Eldorado Allen last week, and we're suddenly, he's the value in the Gold Cup. No, he's not.
Done. There we go. That's all we have to say. No, I agree. It's got to come up heavy ground for him to have a squeak. A squeak.
When was the last time the Gold Cup's been run on heavy ground?
I know. I'm not defending these people. I don't agree with them. But for him to have a squeak, it's got to come up heavy grounds. Right, now time for a couple of updates. Hopefully this will inform you and maybe tell you a few things that you didn't know before. One that you might know is Jerry Colombe is out of the Cheltenham Festival, won't be running in the Albert Bartlett. He was removed or suspended for a lot of the races. Why are you smiling?
Another one down for the big B lad. I'm just knocking them off here. Bardenstown lad is getting rid of market rivals day by day at the moment. Like, how is this horse not odds on? Everyone's backed it.
As much as I'm a Bardenstown lad, a part of his fan club now, you should not be smiling at Jerry Colombe missing the Cheltenham Festival.
No, I think that's actually a good thing for the horse, because I think Jerry Colombe's a serious horse, and he'll be a much better chaser than Bardenstown lad. But for this year's just hopes and dreams, we've got to just think on one horse in lovely blue and blue stars.
From a grade 1 to maybe a handicap far out, won't be going to Cheltenham. I think he'll be running in a race at Fairyhouse and the Easter meeting there. 2 horses that are young horses that I need to put on your radar. One is Abbeydale, who is with Gordon Elliott. Another one is a Deeply Superficial, Gordon Elliott. She's a mare. She won a point-to-point by 10 lengths in December and was bought for £385,000. Guess who was second?
Well, I do know the answer to this, because the horse that came second is the reason I'm in a certain final with our lovely Association of Racing TV, Mullenbeg.
Mullenbeg was second, 10 lengths back in second. She looks pretty smart. I get the impression that Deeply Superficial is quite exciting and is definitely a horse for next year. I'm looking forward to seeing her big time. Another one for Paul Nicholls, who won the same day at that point to point, is Stay Away Faye. £305,000, a big gelding, obscene money. Here's something that I found very interesting. I didn't know this before. Well, I knew a bit about it, but I didn't know lots about it. There are such things as schooling races. So a racecourse will put schooling races on and you can enter them. No one ever sees them. And there was one on Wednesday at Fairyhouse. And there was one race which was particularly interesting. And for those that don't know, you kind of put horses through their paces in a similar scenario to a race, but you don't really give them the full whammy. They don't give them a hard time. Different trainers can also turn up in them, so you can have horses from Gordon Elliott's yard, Willie Mullins, Gavin Cromwell. I heard that on Wednesday at Fairyhouse, Flooring Porter ran in one of these schooling races, and American Mike was in the same schooling race, the champion bumper second favourite. To my knowledge, Flooring Porter won, but he was driven out to do so, and he finished a length ahead of American Mike. Bear with me. Jamie Codd was on American Mike, and he didn't move a muscle as he wanted to teach American Mike to travel up sides. So he didn't go past on purpose. You need to think that American Mike is in seriously well for a young horse to finish close to him, and that could be of interest. I think behind them was Deeply Superficial and Abbeydale. So just a little nugget there that Flooring Porter's clearly in good form, and so is American Mike. Learn something new every day.
So that's class knowledge. Like, if people aren't hitting the like button for those nuggets, I don't know what they're looking for.
We've now got 4 questions to answer before we finish this episode. It's a short episode. The first being from Samuel Ward, and he asked, thoughts on Stormy Island for the Mares' Hurdle?
Look, she has a chance. I didn't think she had a great record around Cheltenham, but she kind of dispelled that by winning the Rel Keel. Would Brewing Up a Storm have gone by her? Very hard to know. But even then, even if she'd come second to him, that was a good run. She's probably the most proven of all the mares in that race. I just, for some reason, I don't know whether because she's been beaten in the race a couple of times, can't quite warm to her.
Quinton McFarlane asks, Eric Bloodaxe for the Albert Bartlett. I know he was a horse that you're excited about before the Dublin Racing Festival.
Yeah, he ran an absolute stinker though in the Dublin Racing Festival. He didn't jump. I know this happened with Vanillier last year, and I think people are kind of clinging on to that he won the race down in Limerick, disappointed at the Dublin Racing Festival, then went on to win the Bartlett. Just couldn't back him with any type of confidence after that run. It was such an appalling round of jumping. Brian Cooper was trying his best to get him to get into any rhythm, and he couldn't. And I've said before on one of the other videos, I don't really like that form, so couldn't really be having him myself.
Pedro asks any selections for the Martin Pipe. Now this is a bit of a sneak preview because the next video will be a handicaps breakdown. If you want to go back to last year's festival, we did a 40-minute video, went through every single handicap with horses that we liked and different criteria and trends that horses need to have going into those races. Have you got a sneak preview for us? What do you like in the Martin Pipe?
Yeah, well, one that's very interesting, I'm not telling people something they don't know, is State Man. I think he'll end up going down a handicap route, whether it's the County Hurdle, whether it's the Martin Pipe. Very interesting jockey booking down in Limerick, Richie Deegan riding him, who'd be probably well up in the pecking order of Willie Mullins' riders for a race like the Martin Pipe alongside Jack Foley. So I don't know whether that was coincidental, whether that was something that we should read into or not, but if he was to go to that race, I think he's a horse of extreme ability. It wouldn't surprise me at all if State Man is actually a Grade 1 horse, and if he was to run in a handicap, I would be very keen on him.
I agree as well. If he runs in a handicap, he's going to have a massive chance. The one thing I would worry about is he could run in the Supreme Novice Hurdle. I think that is potentially where they're leaning, but depending on what mark he was to get, they could maybe have second thoughts and go for a handicap. If he was to be 145, I'm sure you'd see him turn up here in the Martin Pipe because Willie's just got so much ammunition for the big Grade 1s. I like one in here that's trained by Gordon Elliott, and I was quite strong on him actually. 16-1 non-runner no bet. Gordon Elliott's going to chuck 4 or 5 at this race, there's no doubt about it, and it's a horse that I have mentioned a couple of weeks ago, and that was Hayu. He's a 5-year-old. We've seen him 3 times on a race course. He finished 3rd behind Eric Bloodaxe. He was brought down actually by State Man in a Leopardstown maiden hurdle, and then he won again at Punchestown in a maiden hurdle, and that form is actually working out very, very nicely. But there's a couple of other nuggets I think puts the puzzle together. Gordon used the Nace maiden hurdle that he ran in on his first start of the season with Column of Fire and Dallas to Pictons. I personally think Column of Fire would have won the Martin Pipe had he stood on his feet at the last, and Dallas to Pictons finished second, a close second to early doors. You look at his Punchestown form, and the 4th Liza was a 12 lengths winner of a maiden hurdle over 2.5 miles next time out. The 3rd is a horse called Killer Mode, who's got form that's tied in with It's What Unites Us. He's also got a form tied in with Kilcrut, and he's also won a bumper beating non-binding. And the other bit of form that's interesting is Bron. He finished second to him in a maiden hurdle. And then second was Govan, who won a maiden hurdle by 8 lengths next time out as well. So those 3 behind him are seriously decent horses going forward and decent prospects for the future. But he is entered in the Michael Purcell at Thurles on Thursday. Gordon Elliott loves this race, especially for a Martin Pipe horse. Blow by Blow won this race and then won the Martin Pipe in 2019. Champagne Classic finished 3rd in this race and then won the 2018 Martin Pipe. So all of that stacks together. I just think that 16-1 non-runner no bet is worth it, because if he turns up in the race, he's done something right between now and then, and he'll probably be single figures. And if he doesn't do something right between now and then, he won't turn up in the race. So 16-1, Hayu is one that I'm interested in for the Martin Pipe, but I'm going to go into more detail about him in the next video. And then finally, the last question, and we've been asked this for many, many times over the last few weeks, and that is, do you have an each-way lucky 15 for the festival? It's a tough question. Go on.
Yeah, well, I'll give my 2, and one, I think the person that asked this question already thought of 2 that we would go with, and I suspect nobody would be surprised to see me put Barnesdown Lad in there. 16-1 best price you can get. The Sharks have put it from 20s to 16 since the Novice Hurdle, and the other one I'll throw into the mix is HMS Seahorse at 12-1 for the Boodles. The Tide Turns is going to be very interesting for that race. Obviously, got a very, very canny ride from Dennis O'Regan today. But if the Tide Turns runs in the Boodles, nobody's going to miss it. It's going to be 3-1 or 4-1 or something like that. And HMS Seahorse only finished a couple of lengths behind him, 2 starts back, and is likely to get a weight pull. So I think 12-1 is a very good price.
The Tide Turns has got an Irish rating of 136 already. If he was to go up maybe a couple of pounds for the run today, that's 138. And then you add the English tax on, that's something in the low 140s. That's going to be a difficult weight to carry in a race like this. So he'd have to be very streetwise and he'd have to be very good to win it. My 2 would be Buddy Rich at 10-1 for the Grand Annual. I don't understand why he's still 10-1. I'd make him 5-4. And then the other one that I like is Forcelet in the Hunter Chase, 16-1 each way. One that's quite out there. I think he's going to go very well. I love everything he's done on the racetrack so far, and a lot of point-to-point judges, who I respect highly, think a lot of him, so that's good enough for me. So Vorsla at 16-1 in the Hunter's Chase. It doesn't look a vintage Hunter's Chase, not that a lot of them do. I don't know why I said that, but hey-ho. Thank you very much for watching this short but sweet episode of the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel. If you did enjoy it, please hit that like button, get your thoughts down below, and also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you so much for the support on the recent videos. Sorry if you had to put up with DJ Josh for this video. It won't happen again next week. And then also, for those that have bought one of the Let's Talk Racing caps, they are sold out. Thank you ever so much for doing that. We have got the private Let's Talk Racing Cheltenham preview evening, which will be on Wednesday the 9th. There will be an email invitation, but just to let you know, it's Wednesday the 9th. So if you were keen on doing that, it might be worth taking a couple of hours out of your calendar that evening. But until then, we'll see you soon.